So I just want to come on here and talk about how God started to save me whenever I was at my lowest part of life. And it was honestly a long battle because it was so hard for me to just let go and let God. Um, so whenever I was in high school, I was a part of a church, and honestly, the best way I can explain it is the parable that Jesus taught about putting the seeds on different kind of soil. The seed started to grow, but the soil wasn't good enough for the seed to stick. And so, whenever life ended up hitting me and the enemy ended up starting to attack my life, I ended up turning away because I was just so hurt. And for the longest time, I didn't think that you could bring your anger to God or your hurt to God. I felt like it was horrible to do that considering what He had sacrificed. And so I had started falling into addiction, and then after the addiction, I had a friend who gave me tarot cards, and I started reading tarot cards because my mom used to read tarot cards, and I was like, it's in my blood, so I must have the gift, and yeah. Well, while I was really deep in my addiction, probably the worst part of my addiction, because I honestly didn't care what I was smoking as long as I was smoking, um, I was cleaning the house that I was staying in because there was two dogs, or like three dogs that stayed in the house, and they wouldn't go outside to go to the bathroom, and there was no pet pads, so they would just go all over the floor. And I had made a promise to myself that I would never go to sleep in a room with dog pee and poop at the end of where I was sleeping again. So I would spend most of the night steam cleaning the room in order for me to go to bed. And there was one night I was doing it, and I was like fed up with having to do this every night. Fed up having to fight with the dogs to get them to like try to go outside because they were so scared to go outside because they've never really been outside. And something told me to look underneath the seat cushion of where I was sleeping because I was sleeping on a couch. And whenever I did, there was a dead mouse. It looked like somebody had sat on the cushion whenever the mouse was trying to, get to the other side, and it ended up being squished. So I started to walk to go get something to get the mouse out from underneath there so that way I could go to sleep, and I just felt Jesus. Like, I felt Jesus, and I like hit my knees and I was crying, and I was like, Lord, I'm so sorry for turning away from you. I need help out of this. I know this isn't what you called me to be. I need help because I can't do this. I've been trying to get sober for months now. I can't do it. I got up off of my knees. Mind you, the floor was wet and there was probably still dog pee on the carpet, but I didn't care. And during that time, whenever I would go to sleep, I'd put something on YouTube to fall asleep to. And mind you, it had been over 2 years since I had watched a sermon, and for those 2 years, I was watching like tarot card videos and new age spirituality stuff. So there was no reason for this to come up. But there was a sermon that ended up popping up. The first one, the first recommended video, it was a sermon. And I was being hard-headed, so I didn't watch it. Well, about a week later, it's like the same exact thing happened. It was like deja vu. And I found another dead mouse underneath there. I went to go clean it up. I hit my knees. I said the same prayer. I went to go lay down. And that sermon popped up again. I finally watched it. And it's the sermon by Sarah Jakes Roberts, Shifting Your Dimensions. You should go watch it. It helped me out of a really dark time in my life. But in it, she said that prayer is transportation. Prayer is a way to let God know where you are. He already knows where you're at, but it's a way to let him know that where you are and that you want to get out. And so I was like, okay, I already did that, And then I remember part of the sermon where she said, I know there's some people that are watching this that has chains so heavy on them that they can't lift their hands up. They don't, so heavy on them that they can't praise God. And so if one can chase 1,000, then when everybody lifts their hands in here, the demons are going to start running off of you. And I just saw it was a big church, and all the church was like lifting their hands and praising. And she was just sitting there telling the demons that were on me to get off of me. And I just felt so much relief. And I was crying. And like from then on, I was like, I got to start chasing God. And it's funny because a lot of times when people first get to God, I wanted one of those testimonies where it's like, okay, I found God. Now I will never have the want to smoke again. I'll never want to do drugs again. So I thought that's what was going to happen to me. So I was like, okay, after tonight, I'm going to stop the drugs. I'm not going to do them no more. That did not last for very long. I think it didn't last for very long because God was trying to show me that there was a lot of other things in my heart and in my mind that I needed to heal before I actually healed the addiction, because addiction isn't the problem. Addiction is a repercussion of a problem. And I was failing to realize that. And I feel like that's why he let me stay in the addiction. And I'm not gonna lie, whenever I couldn't beat that addiction right off the bat, it made me kind of waver on my want to follow Christ. So I just started praying a little bit more, and I kept just trying to get my heart to soften in order to want to hear God, in order to hear God. And I remember when it finally got soft enough, I heard God say, instead of just trying to straight up quit, you need to start replacing it with something. And I knew that if I wanted to replace what I was doing with something, it needed to be something God-like in order for me to really have it stick. And then shortly after that, my grandma told me about an uncle who was in World War II. His cavalry was one of the only cavalries that had made it back from something, and it's because they had prayed Psalm 91 before they had left. And after I heard that, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I started writing down Psalms anytime I wanted to smoke. Anytime that there was like a smoke circle going on, I'd be writing down Psalms, and if I didn't finish the verse that I was on, I would have to say no, let it go around me. And that's whenever I really started slowing down on my smoking. Then I got to where if I didn't finish the book by the time it got to me, then I couldn't smoke. And after a while of doing that, it really started helping me, and the book of Psalms just has a special place in my heart because it really helped me understand that I wasn't the only person who struggles with the relationship with God. I wasn't the only person who struggled putting down what I needed to put down for God. Anyways, a couple months after those prayers, and a couple months after starting to write down the Psalms, I started getting back into the Bible. And there's a verse in James where it says, if you are sick, go to the elders of the church and have them pray for you. And I remember I had opened the Bible for the first time in forever, and that was the first verse that I came across. And I just started bawling because I knew my grandma had the entire church of hers praying for me to get healed. And like after I read that, I was like, okay, it's not just me fighting this. For one, God's already fought this, and for two, I have so many people behind me praying for me and wanting to see me actually succeed, which was mind-boggling to me because for so long I had my own mother sitting over here talking down about me. Like, it was almost like she was wishing for me not to make it. And May 1st, I finally got clean. And it's funny because, like, looking back, I felt like God wasn't with me. I felt like I was walking alone. I felt like he had turned his back on me, and he was angry at me, that he didn't see me as his child. And like now looking back, I can see all the little things that he had done in my life in order for me to get saved.